So recently, 2 organizations whose boards you chair celebrated you. The chief, the man himself. It was exciting for some of us who walked this journey with you, Japheth, to see you celebrated, because you're someone who has not just practiced what you preach, but in a country where we celebrate a lot of things, I think we need to do more of this. Now, of course, they celebrated you at a time when your tenure was coming to an end, which in many ways is a contradiction. But Chief, you know your life has always been a contradiction. You're a chief people don't stand up for.
You don't stand up for me,
and
I have one wife.
And you're a chief, you have one wife.
Yeah,
yes,
so you know, that's why my chief is, I say, is a small C. Yes.
So the chief's tenure ended, which never happens.
Yes.
So
chiefs are for life.
Chiefs are for life.
As you corporate governance people start putting these rules about 9 years and independence. Who told you after 9 years I ceased to be independent?
But you complied.
But you know, but Dr. Martin Alike had 43 years.
Oh yes.
It's 43 or 47.
These rules hadn't come in.
These rules hadn't come in.
And I also believe at that time finding directors may have been a problem. A bit of a challenge.
It is still a challenge actually, but there. Yes.
So when, I mean, they say a good dancer must know when to leave the floor.
I know.
When do you know that, you know, it's time to move on? It's time for the organization to change. Do you wait for your tenure to end? Your 9 years, or can you actually even do it earlier? How do you tell?
How do you tell when to get off the dancing floor? First of all, if the partner just gets so tired of you that she walks away and leaves you on the floor alone. But it is an interesting one. I left at the end of my term because of the 9 rules and so on and so forth. But first of all, you should get off. If you lose interest in what the business is doing, because it's all about purpose, you can't get off. Because you go in another board, you left. Number 2, if you feel you are getting conflicted, leave it. If you feel that, because the good thing with me, when I was on this board, of course, when I was at CMA, because of the nature of the regulator, I could not get on corporate boards. But when you feel that you really do not have the time, you know, be honest yourself. If you feel it that time to go to the board meeting without reading the papers and so on, be honest and reduce and leave. Of course, there are regulations for listed companies, but I mean, they are too generous.
Mr. Katto, let me cut you short on this. Have you ever had to say that again? If you feel you don't have time, I think it's very, very important to emphasize that point. Because I think many boards struggle with directors who can no longer commit the time.
Absolutely.
Let's spend some time.
But you know, but it has got to be a high level of integrity.
Yes.
To say, you know what, the work I'm doing and so on and so forth, I think I will not be able to manage. So maybe after, when a renewal comes, you do not take. But it's a high level of integrity that you've got to do. So, but the point is that, you know, I say that to be able to feel that you are enjoying what you are doing and you are contributing and so on and so forth, but it needs a high level of integrity to be able to drop off and then maybe go to another board or come to another board. Because you see, I always say, we talk about chair. Do you know a board member could walk into a boardroom without reading the papers and manage? But sometimes you may see asking questions which have already been answered in the papers. But the chair, why the chair's role is tough. You cannot chair a meeting without reading those papers.
No.
So what happened for me? I did my terms at both EABL, UBL, and Stanbic, and honestly, I was ready to go and focus a lot of effort on my consultancy, but somebody somewhere thought that I could add.
But you're a good dancer.
I'm a good dancer. I could even dance a bit better in my old age. And then, as you know, I was appointed to the board of the central bank. Yes. It's such an honor. It is a lot of work. It's tough. And then, you know, my cycle, as you say, I was a regulator one time. Then I went and was being regulated. Now I'm going back into regulation. Yes. And then, but I've cut down a lot of. For instance, SCCA. I no longer do the professional ones. I only sit on one international board now, which is the International Valuation Standards Council. You know, that's a board that sets standards for valuation of assets, whether physical, intellectual, or financial. But the point is, you got to measure. You got to measure. In fact, when I was preparing for this, by the way, I was reading the rules, the CMA guidelines, CMA Uganda guidelines,
Yes.
that you are allowed to be on 5 listed companies, and you chair 2. I don't know if that has changed.
2000, were they 98 or 2000?
Yes, 2008.
So
the Kenya
that
one
has changed.
Yeah, the Kenya one reduced it to 3.
Yeah.
And you can chair only 2 listed companies.
Yes.
Remember, that's listed, but doesn't mean you may have other companies and so on. So what do I say to board members? Just to really measure yourself. Are you really adding value?
Yeah.
Do you have the time? Because you will be found out. You can't hide all the time. You'll be
Can you
found out.
imagine a schedule 5 plus?
Meetings, yeah, I think that is.
What does your diary look
that's
like?
incredible. So, in fact, the Kenya code is very, very good, because it even goes further. They even put the ED, an executive director of a listed company, can only be on one other board of a listed company. But that is being prescriptive, so you don't need to get that stage.
Yeah. Self-discipline. You've got to say. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our conversation. It's been a pleasure to have you, Mr. Japheth Katto. And but of course, this is not the end of it. We've had these conversations for many years, and I think we will continue having this conversation. There's no tenure on the conversation.
But it's a great pleasure. It's great. I rarely get a discussion with people that we have worked with, people that are experts in these fields and so on. When we're sharing the experience that you have had, that you bring. But thank you very much, Winnie. One of the things I must thank you very much for accepting to join the standard setting board for ethics, for accountants, in fact. Well, that is fantastic. Now, it's great honor to have this discussion, and it's very, very good. I am confident. I thought you were going to ask me those difficult questions as a professor, but what I was saying, that my experience to share with you, that it is good to be on boards, or maybe listed company, regulated entities, fee-paying boards, but the additional value you get by being on NGO, not-for-profit boards, the value that you get on being on international boards. I mean, I can assure you that the experience that I got by sitting on the boards on the Council of SCCA and on the International Federation of Accountants is just amazing. Yes. And this was voluntary. Therefore, I was appreciating that when I recommended Winnie to join the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountant, she accepted. And I said, first question, I am not an accountant. I says, no, they're talking about ethics standards. And ethics has no profession. Everyone
cuts across.
It cuts across everyone. So I would encourage you to do that. It adds to your experience, and also adds to your attractiveness on getting on boards. Thank you.
Thank you.